Hey, and welcome everyone. Thanks so much for taking a couple minutes out of your day to focus with us on some leadership principles. I want to just welcome you to our monthly leadership video where we're talking about building better teams. And that question, how do I build a better team? I'll be honest with you, is kind of more clickbait than anything else, because the truth is it's the wrong question. When we are leading projects, when we're leading teams, groups, families, whatever it is, the real question for a leader is not how do I have a better team? The question is how do I become a better leader? And so what I really want to talk about, in a sense, is the idea of how do we ask the right kind of questions that are actually going to stimulate leadership growth in us first, with the expectation that as we grow as a leader, we in essence inspire and draw people in our wake, that we create draft, as it were, with our leadership life that actually helps other people grow in their leadership and their capacity and their competencies as well. So how do we ask good questions? What are good questions? In Matthew chapter 22, the Pharisees approached Jesus with a series of questions that are designed really to trick him or to trap him into saying something that would either offend the Roman authority or at least put him on the outs with the Jewish people. They asked him questions about, should Israel pay taxes to Rome? Questions about the nature of the resurrection and marriage. Questions about what is the greatest of the commandments? If you had to sum up all of the commandments and the prophets, how would you do it? So finally, after Jesus sort of plays their game with them for a little bit, he poses a question back to them in verses 41 through 45, where he basically asks them, is the Messiah the descendant of David or the Lord of David? Well, verse 46 tells us no one could answer him. And after that, no one dared ask him questions anymore. You almost get the sense that the gospel writer was really wanting to put in, no one asked him any more stupid questions, or no one asked him any more tricky questions. Because obviously we know people continue to ask Jesus questions, but they were sincere questions. They were questions where they were really hoping and looking to grow. And that's our goal. Our goal is to ask the kinds of questions that are really designed to help us and the people around us grow. So if you're a leader, whether it's a leader at work, whether it's a leader of a group or a team here at the church, or just thinking about your leadership in your own personal life or in your community, what are some questions that you could ask some of the people who are followers, some of the people that you are hoping and seeking to lead? I'll just give you three. The first question is going to seem strange when I first say it, and that is, do they like me? Now, any sort of cursory study of leadership, you're going to know immediately that leaders can't always be liked. But that maxim is more about the idea that it's not your job to be everyone's best friend. It's not your job to make everyone happy with every one of your decisions. It's not your job to sort of get everyone on your side on an issue. But it doesn't mean that it isn't important that people are buying into you, that people feel like they have some connective tissue with you and your leadership. In fact, that distinction is what separates people from the first level of leadership, which is just position, title, really to the second level of leadership, which is the idea of permission. In other words, people aren't following you because they're afraid of the alternative. There's no fear of reprisal that they're going to lose income or job or opportunities because they didn't go along with you. But now people are following you because they've bought into you. There's starting to be some personal connection. There's starting to be some affinity that is growing in your relationship. And it is critically important that you have that relational connection, that relational affinity between you and the people that you're trying to lead, that you know something about their life, something about who they are, something about what they're personally going through. Number one, it'll make it much easier for you to speak to and sort of say in ways that make sense to them the principles and the practices that you're actually hoping they'll be able to get worked into their lives. So that first question is actually more important than what a lot of people might think or understand or believe. And that is simply, do the people who follow me, do they like me? Number two, we can ask the question, can I help them? This fundamentally is what helps move us into that level 3 leader, which is a production leader, which means you're actually helping people grow. You're actually helping people be more efficient. You're actually helping people be more effective. You're growing their competencies. You're growing their connectiveness. And sometimes that is directly to an individual. You see someone in a team which seems to be lagging behind, someone in a team who always seems like the outlier, the odd person out, and you can go to them and coach them. But there's also a reality that when a team wins, all of the individuals on a team win. Everyone wants to be a part of a team that is winning, that's hitting goals, marks, numbers. They're effectively being more productive with their time, able to accomplish the same thing in less time or more things in the same amount of time. And so that idea of making sure that you're actually helping your team acquire wins as individuals and as a team is incredibly important. So asking your people, how can I help you? How can I help us? What is it you guys need from me? Is an incredibly effective question for any leader to ask. And oftentimes it's insightful in terms of the ways people may not be perceiving your help or not perceiving your engagement as particularly helpful. So number one, do they like me? Number two, can I help them? And number three, do they trust me? So have I earned trust from them? And this can happen a lot of ways. This can happen by building a track record. As you come in and you are willing to address things, sometimes hard things, sometimes almost frivolous things, but things that sort of hold people to the standard or to the expected best practice or whatever it is. Am I creating a track record that I do what I say, that I mean what I say? Am I helping the team become not just connected to me, but am I helping the team become connected to one another? Do they believe at the end of the day that I have them and their best interest and the team's best interest in mind? What I'm doing, that my leadership is not ultimately self-serving and self-seeking. So when you're thinking through leading followers, those are going to be three great questions that are going to build your leadership, and consequently, you will end up with a better team. Do they like me? Can I help them? And do they trust me? But let's say you're a person who's maybe moved your way into a little bit of a management role or set of responsibilities. Now you're not just leading followers, maybe you're leading leaders. Maybe you're a project lead and the project has been broken up into segments and you've got captains or watch people over different areas of the project. And so now you're not just leading people who oftentimes need help with tasks and competencies. You're helping people who are trying to grow and develop their own leadership at the same time that you're trying to grow your leadership. So 3 questions that actually will help bolster and develop your leadership of leaders. 3 questions you can ask leaders. The first one is kind of an extension of the last one we ask followers, and that is, do they respect me? In other words, leaders are a lot more picky about who they allow to lead them. And leaders who are all sort of moving in the same direction at relatively similar paces will sometimes collaborate and work together and give us the sense that they may be submitted to our leadership, they may be leaning into our leadership, when in reality, they're just drafting off of our momentum or our team, or they're just using us for the time being. And I'm not questioning anyone's motives, but the point is they really haven't bought into you as a leader of leaders. And so asking the question, do you respect me? And this is a question about your competencies. This is a question about your track record. This is a question about your leadership with that team. Do they respect me? Number one. Number two, can I challenge them? This is far and away the most telling question that you can ask yourself and other people to know whether or not someone is really bought into your leadership and someone is really leaning into you. If they give you permission to be candid, if they give you permission to call them to something higher, something that is more than what they maybe wanted or anticipated for themselves in terms of work, in terms of responsibility, in terms of time, in terms of whatever it is, if they're willing to have you challenge them and receive that in a positive way, that speaks volumes about your leadership and the capacity of your team to grow. Because when you have a group of people who are willing and even desire you to be candid with them and to be honest with them and to measure what you're doing in very detailed ways to determine whether or not you're actually being successful at whatever it is you're trying to do or accomplish or become, that's a really, really great indicator that your leadership is strong, that it's growing, and so is theirs. And then finally, the last question for us to ask leaders is, do I really empower them? Sometimes we employ people. We keep them busy. We keep them on task. We keep them on mission. And so we're keeping everyone moving and everything spinning, and we're keeping, the whatever widget is being pumped out at the end of the process with a minimal amount of waste. That's not really the same thing as empowering. Empowering is really giving people freedom to begin to make decisions, to begin to watch for and anticipate what is coming next, and to be part of the vision casting. It's giving people a seat at the table. On the project, on the team, in the group, in the family. It's what we do a lot of times with our kids as they're moving from childhood to adulthood. It's what we do with people when we're hoping that maybe one day they'll be able to take over a new job responsibility or a new job role. But we need to be able to do it in more areas probably than we're currently doing it, because the reality is, John Maxwell always says, anytime someone can be doing something at least 80% your level, they should be doing it. So if you've got things you're doing in part because you feel like it's your job, or because you're worried that someone else might be able to do it better, faster, or with more creativity, you're worried how someone else might look over and against the way you look, all of those things speak to insecurities in your leadership that are holding you and the teams that you're trying to lead, and particularly the leaders that you're trying to lead, kind of hostage. Here's what I'm going to tell you. Leaders that don't feel like they have an opportunity to grow, leaders that feel like you are ceiling to their capacity, are not going to stick with you long. So if you really want to be a leader of leaders, if you want your leadership to grow and your team to be better, you're going to have to really empower people with the tools, the resources, the time, everything they need to even exceed your own capacity. Well, I want to thank you so much for giving us a couple minutes just to consider what it would look like for us to have the teams that we've always dreamed of, the teams that we really want, and understanding that the reality of that does not rest with our team having the exact right people or the exact right mix of competencies. It really starts and ends with our own leadership. And these are just a few of the ways that we can begin to ask some really, really solid, biblically based questions to help develop our leadership. And in the process, we will end up with better teams. My name is Jerry Shaffer. You could reach out to me anytime, jerry@cometothewell.org. You can call us here at the church at 630-262-1083. We hope that you are having a great day and the Lord bless you.